So hello everybody, my name is Mark Sage. I'm the Executive Director of the AREA, the Augmented Reality Enterprise Alliance, and I'd like to welcome you to one of our latest AREA Thought Leadership webinars. Really excited to be here with Augmentir and Chris Kuntz, who's going to be doing a really insightful webinar and introduction to how to use AI to transform enterprise AR. So just before I hand over to Chris, just a quick introduction about the AREA for people who don't know. The AREA is the only global membership-funded non-profit alliance dedicated to accelerating or helping accelerate the adoption of enterprise AR by creating a comprehensive ecosystem. We are currently 64 members. Our members are in 3 different segments. There are companies that are successfully deploying AR. We have a bigger group of companies that are deploying AR, or sorry, are providing AR solutions. Anything from software, hardware, platform providers, content development, content extraction, and everything in between. And then our third segment, we kind of call our non-commercial organizations, so government agencies, research institutes, universities, and standards organization. We get real benefit by bringing the whole ecosystem together to learn from each other and to help develop best practice and help accelerate the adoption of enterprise AR. The AREA has 4 strategic pillars. The first one is about thought leadership, and this is an example of what we're doing today with Chris, but it's about getting the information that allows business decision makers to make informed decisions about investing in AR, and looking forward to hearing about Chris's work in a moment. Networking is really important. It's about bringing the ecosystem together to learn from each other, to help develop partnerships and best practice. We have a goal around helping educate and bring in the next set of skilled workers and closing that skills gap. So working with universities to help them define courses, to do guest lecturing, to set challenges. And again, anything we can do to make sure we have a steady set of skilled workers coming into the enterprise AR industry. And finally, and there's a lot of work done by the members, it's about reducing barriers to adoption. So we have a number of different committees that meet on a regular basis and focus on some of the challenges like security, AR security, safety, creating a single set of requirements, human factors, and also we have a very strong research capability, which is developing research based on the members' needs and provided the input back to the members as well. This is one of a number of AREA webinars that we have done over a number of years, and you can see them all highlighted here. Please feel free to go to the AREA website and look under the resources, and then there's a whole list of different videos and webinars and information there that you can look at. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to contact me. I wanted to just inform you that there's a couple of more webinars coming up. We'll be doing one on estimating enterprise AR ROI. This is an ROI calculator that we've just recently made available online for anybody to use. And that from the AREA Research Committee, that webinar is available for everyone. And then there's a members only webinar coming up on the 27th of May, and that will be focusing on our latest research into web-based AR. And being delivered some of the results and insight and allowing the members to discuss that research project. Okay, enough from me. I'm really excited to hand over to Chris. Just bear with me as I make Chris presenter. And he's going to talk to you about work of Augmentir and how they use AI to transform enterprise AR. Okay, Chris, over to you.
Great, thank you, Mark, and thanks for having me on today. I hope everyone is safe and healthy during these interesting times. So my name is Chris Kuntz. I'm the Vice President here at Augmentir, responsible for marketing and our strategic partner relationships, filling in for Russ Fadel today. Actually, Russ was originally scheduled to do this webinar, but he got pulled into a customer conversation. We're actually working with a customer that's deep in the COVID-19 support supply chain, and so we're trying to do what we can to support them with some remote assistance technology that we're offering. So good reason for Russ not to be available today. And so today I'd like to talk about how using artificial intelligence can help really transform what's already been successful with enterprise augmented reality and mixed reality, and how it's impacting industrial jobs and labor. And in fact, a lot of this has become more relevant in recent times as the nature of work has changed, possibly forever for manufacturing and service companies. So I'll organize the webinar into 4 parts, and I'm going to start with a discussion on the frontline workforce and how the nature of work is changing, and then share some insight into what we see at Augmentir, what we see as a unique market opportunity as we thought about it at Augmentir, how AR and MR and connected worker technology has emerged as a solution to some of the challenges faced in the industrial workforce today, and how artificial intelligence can take that to the next level. And then I'll finish it up with some customer stories of some of this in practice, and then we'll wrap it up with questions at the end. So before we begin, I think it's relevant to provide a little background on my company, Augmentir. Our team has a pretty deep experience in creating and delivering innovative software in the industrial and manufacturing sector dating back to the late 1980s. One of our co-founders here at Augmentir, Phil Huber, was a co-founder of a company called Wonderware, who started in 1987. And they were a pioneer in transforming how factory machines run with the introduction and really the mass commercialization of human machine, or HMI, interface software. So Wonderware today is the leading factory automation software in the world. I think it's used in close to 50% of the world's factories, over 100,000 factories across the world. Really transformed how humans interacted with factory equipment. And then in 1997, Augmentir's CEO and another co-founder, Russ Fadel, he co-founded a company called Lighthammer. The idea there was a unification layer to help production operations run factories better, so synchronizing plant activities with enterprise systems. Lighthammer was actually acquired by SAP and is currently being offered under SAP's MII brand. So if you're an SAP customer at all, there's a 90-95% likelihood that you're using Lighthammer software under the hood. And then in 2008, 2009, several members of Augmentir's current executive team co-founded and were involved in building ThingWorks, the first industrial Internet of Things platform. And after building that for 5 years, the company was acquired by PTC, and today PTC's ThingWorks technology is widely recognized as the leading industrial IoT platform in the market today. So, the team that created Augmentir, pretty significant history in the manufacturing and industrial sector. And when we got together in 2017, the technologies were aligning yet again around mobile wearable technology and AR, MR. And our vision for Augmentir was to focus on the frontline workers and focus on using technology to increase the safety, quality, and productivity of the frontline workforce. So who are today's frontline workers? They're skilled technicians, associates, engineers. They're performing hands-on jobs in manufacturing, installation, and service across a range of vertical markets. And really, with all the advancements in technology and automation, these jobs aren't going away yet. Human worker performance and quality and safety, it's lagged that of some of the advancements seen in automation and robotics. And certainly, as evident today, humans are an integral part of this industrial equation. But a lot of the technologies that have evolved around Industry 4.0 and a lot of it, they've really ignored the human worker or have done little to continually help them. So when we set out at Augmentir, we looked at the market and our history in the market, and looked at what are the key challenges or problems that we should be trying to solve, and we identified 3, and 2 of these everyone talks about. The first is the growing skills gap in the industrial workforce, which was getting exacerbated by a tight labor market. Obviously, that labor market has changed recently, but now even more importantly, the rapidly changing nature of work is creating issues there where manufacturing companies are looking to pivot and produce different materials based on and needing to upskill their workforce to support that. And actually earlier this year there was a statistic from the Manufacturing Institute that manufacturers are set to spend $26.2 billion on upskilling their workforce in 2020 to both attract and keep their workers. Those numbers may change slightly, but it's still a major problem, the skills gap in the industrial sector. And the next is tribal knowledge, and the fact that something like 40% of the technical workers in manufacturing are expected to retire in the next 5 to 7 years. So you have this impending loss of tribal knowledge, and unfortunately for most manufacturing companies, the knowledge possessed by that senior workforce that's set to retire has yet to be captured in any digital or electronic format, so it's difficult to share. And then, the third area that we identified was how you continuously improve the frontline workforce. And going back to our history, our team spent years focusing on factory efficiency using analytics and data to determine the areas of improvement and optimization, or the continual areas of improvement and optimization within the factory environment. And so we thought, how can we apply that to the frontline workforce? And this is all very relevant, and I mean, not even relevant, but more urgent now in the COVID-19 era. Obviously, we've all seen it. COVID-19 is plastered everywhere on the news today. I don't think you can go 2 or 3 minutes without hearing something about it. And it's created an impact, and for good reasons. It's affecting a lot of people and affecting a lot of businesses. And so, just spend a few minutes here talking about how it's changed manufacturing and service companies, and what we think it's really going to change them permanently because of the current crisis and the current situation. And so, these companies, certainly in manufacturing, they're running into issues because of the need for social distancing, the limitations on travel, and the disruptions in the workforce due to quarantining and shelter in place. And you could look at these as temporary and they'll go away, but one of the things in the industrial space that we've always relied on, and certainly in manufacturing as a crutch is no matter what happens, what questions we have, what problems, it can always be solved with a face-to-face meeting, a senior assembler going over to a factory floor and helping someone out, someone looking over your shoulder, someone that can fly out there, a senior expert that can fly out and help troubleshoot an issue in the field. We don't think this will ever get back to that and will ever change. We may never go back to the day where we can rely purely on face-to-face interactions to keep operations running. So manufacturing and industrial companies really need to focus on enabling workers to perform jobs independently, to make remote assistance the standard, not face-to-face, and the ability to instant skill any worker in the workforce to perform any job at any time, because you don't know when you're going to have to refactor your business. So COVID-19 created a huge disruption, exposed some real significant weaknesses in terms of how we train and support our workers on the plant floor and out in the field. And when we looked at, so when we started Augmentir a couple of years back, when we looked at the market and we surveyed hundreds of customers, we looked at how they're supporting their frontline workers. And really, if you look at it, not much has changed in the past 20 years. Workers receive support from and through colleagues, through face-to-face support, what I talked about just a second ago. There's a fair amount of classroom training, most of which is forgotten before it can even be put into practice by the worker, unfortunately. And the instructions and guidance given to workers is oftentimes on paper. We've all been involved in this, digital work instruction, augmented reality space over the past 5, 6, 7 years now, but still 80% of the companies are running off of paper-based work instructions to guide their workers. And even the next level of companies that have taken it to the next level, they've really taken paper and converted it to a PDF, a relatively static document, and displayed it on a computer or tablet. So, when you look at the 3 big challenges, it's with the skills gap, the tribal knowledge, and continuous improvement, it's clear that the current way, the vast majority of industrial companies supporting their frontline workforce, it's not a solution. It's not up to solving those challenges. And so fortunately, manufacturers are turning to emerging digital technologies, mobile, wearable devices, augmented and mixed reality to help connect this new generation of workers and allow organizations to proactively deliver the right level of support and guidance. And when you look at enterprise AR, along with the emergence of mobile and wearable technology, there's several areas where it's changing in the manufacturing industry. Training, instead of classroom training, using AR to provide guided assistance to help technicians as they work through a manufacturing or service process, provide better hands-on learning. remote expert support. So we talked about this. This is certainly critical now. You know, we're all at the forefront of that, and actually Augmentir, we have a remote assist product. I'll talk a little bit more about that, you know, in a bit. So we had an offer where we're offering that free to use for manufacturing companies through the end of 2020 to help with this current, you know, situation for companies that are forced to do remote and virtual work. So we've received huge reception on that, you know, today, and it's a critical aspect of this new round of technologies that's really helped, you know, provide safety and quality for that frontline workforce. And then other use cases around complex and simple assembly, quality assurance, safety, and equipment maintenance. Certainly industrial AR and mixed reality is critical, and we've seen a lot of value. But when we started Augmentir, we surveyed a lot of companies and working with leading analyst firms, and one of the things that really struck us was, why isn't adoption more widespread? You know, there's the reaction that we got from a lot of companies, there's a high cost with implementing some of these solutions. It certainly helps with initial training, but very difficult to help from a continual improvement basis. And in some cases, it's impractical. It's impractical to jump to a fully AR, MR experience-based solution when you're starting with paper-based work instructions. So it's a leap for a lot of industrial companies to do that. And certainly as you get from large enterprises down to the mid-market, it becomes even more of a leap and even more drastic. So a lot of companies are stuck in pilot purgatory, you know, when it comes to this space today. So when we thought about this problem, continually improving the safety and quality and the productivity of the frontline workforce, I mean, it's really a data problem. And since humans, they generate very noisy, they're noisy signal generators, it was clear to us that it was an AI first problem. So with AI, our vision is that companies can use AI to empower workers to continually do their best work, and use AI to provide each worker with what they need, when they need it, and how they need it, to close the skills gap at the moment of need. And we believe the future of work is going to be defined by personalized instructions that are delivered on the most appropriate device to that worker, depending on their skill set, being able to instantly connect them with human experts, so virtually and remotely connect them with human experts, and to deliver more or less a last minute of training, or instant skilling as we call it. You know, we look at this as online or inline helpers that can be AR, MR experiences, or even things as simple as rich media, things as simple as photos and videos to help workers on the job provide training that is going to resonate and help them, versus traditional classroom training where, as I mentioned before, they forget it as soon as they walk out of the classroom. And then using AI to help supplement this and capture tribal knowledge. So using AI bots to support workers in the field for frequently asked questions, help them tap into a captured tribal knowledge base and virtually assist them in real time. And that's really what, when we talk about an AI-powered connected worker platform, that's really where this all comes together. And that's what we set out to build at Augmentir. But when you look at a connected worker platform, there's really two core pieces of functionality. You know, the first is the ability to author and execute in what we call augmented guided work instructions, really rich instructions that provide guidance to any skill level worker to complete their job safely, on quality, reduce errors, and delivered through the device that's most appropriate for them. The second, integrated remote assistance, instantly connecting people with more experienced experts at the moment of need. And if you look at the industrial AR and MR space, most technology providers offer one or both of these in some form or another. And we're, you know, as I mentioned earlier, certainly in this particular time, we're starting to see a real urgency around this type of technology. But when we talk about an AI first connected worker platform, really a platform that could be built from the ground up as an AI platform, AI first, where AI comes into play is delivering value that uniquely addresses those three big challenges that I talked about. And the first is using AI to interpret job execution data coming back from frontline workers, to cleanse it and to eliminate any outliers or data that doesn't belong, and then recognize patterns or pattern sets that are reflective of opportunities for a workforce to improve. and this is actually how companies are using Augmentir today to support their Lean or Six Sigma or continuous improvement initiatives, is being able to continually identify areas of improvement in the workforce. And I'll get into that a little bit more here in a minute. And secondly, while a connected worker platform is gathering data and using AI to process it, we're learning a lot about how each frontline worker is performing their job and the proficiency that they have in those jobs. So it allows our AI engine to deliver to each worker a personalized set of instructions and do that so that workers can work more independently without, quote unquote, someone sitting over their shoulder. And finally, AI bots that can sit alongside subject matter experts and monitor interactions, between experts and frontline workers, moving tribal knowledge to a more scalable and digital asset for the company. And connected worker platforms can be used in a wide range of industrial use cases, from shop floor to factories out in the field. So anything from setup and changeover, simple and complex assembly, audit and QA, plant maintenance, changeover, factory acceptance test, to out in the field, installation, operations, service, diagnostics, and repair. And then kind of a use case that underlies all of this, as we talked about, was this remote mentor, remote assistance technology that can help bridge the gap and provide virtual and remote support. And so what are some of the things that you can do with an AI-based connected worker platform, and how does AI help extend the value of augmented reality and mixed reality? So the first, it can help you enable independent work. So rich guided procedures allow frontline workers at various skill levels to perform the jobs on quality. So this is just an example of an inline helper that gives information to solving a particular problem or diagnosing a particular situation in the field. And using AI to instant skill your workforce. So we talked about that a little bit earlier. If your workforce is varied, people coming in and out of jobs, or new technicians, new employees coming on board, it can be critical to help instant skill your workforce instead of relying on traditional, as I call it, classroom training. In this example, where we call it learner proficient, the worker on the left is new to the company doing a complex job. And so AI is able to deliver a personalized set of instructions that include a supervisor escalation. So in the middle part of the job where a complex operation is being done, the supervisor has to come in and sign off on that activity before it can be completed as part of an audit trail. And we work with a lot of medical companies and a lot of companies that are providing, manufacturing companies that are providing components to the medical industry. So quality is certainly paramount in their operations, and so having the ability to do that and to support that worker is critical. But on the other side, on the proficient side, you may have a worker who perhaps has done that operation 10 times a day over the past 30 years, and they may not need that supervisor sign off. So again, matching the support and guidance to the proficiency of each worker to each job to optimize the productivity and efficiency of what they're doing, and doing it on quality. And then embedding virtual support. I spoke earlier about the increased need to provide remote and virtual support. If you think about it, if you've now built a new digital environment where you can enable any worker to get support from any other worker or subject matter expert virtually or remotely, then you have this fabric of virtual support that solves problems without being face-to-face, without jumping on an airplane, and you start to accumulate some of that tribal knowledge and can use it as a shareable corporate asset. So very, very critical in this time of need, and AI really underpins that as a way to sift through and augment that data. And then using AI to drive continuous improvement and uncovering, what we call at Augmentir, true opportunity. So opportunity that you identify as capturable. And AI is uniquely suited to identify capturable opportunities from worker data that's, it's massive, it's noisy. And because of that, it can serve as a foundation to a company's lean or continuous improvement initiatives. And this is actually an example from one of our customers. I've blurred out some of the procedure names here. So in this example, AI takes the data set, reduces it, determines what's capturable, and stack ranks it and delivers it to a continuous improvement team. So for example, we're looking at 3 different procedures here. And again, this is real customer data, but what AI determines is that the top item says that AI there's 107 hours of raw opportunity per month that can be that is a potential, but the true opportunity says that there's 98.2 actual true opportunity hours per month that can be captured, and that's based on the analysis of the data, detecting the patterns, the outliers, and cleansing the data. Now, if you look at the next item, there's 181 hours of raw opportunity per month and 66 of true. If you didn't have the AI engine involved, you would be primarily focused on number 2. And while you would, certainly have gains there, focusing on that first procedure and optimizing that procedure provides you significantly more upside in opportunity. So really highlighting and keying in on the areas of greatest opportunity for your workforce and for your operation overall. And another area where AI adds value is using AI for continuous improvement around training and skilling up of the workforce. For instance, AI can identify specific individuals that might benefit from targeted training on a specific tool or a specific procedure, as well as improvements to content. So if your entire workforce or a large percentage of your workforce is struggling with certain steps or certain procedures, it may be an opportunity to improve the content, versus certain individuals struggling with certain steps, maybe it's an opportunity for targeted training. And so, if you think about it, the possibilities are endless. There's a variety of areas that can be targeted for continuous improvement. There's a large ecosystem of content authors and content creators, workers, obviously, subject matter experts, operations managers, and quality specialists that can benefit from being able to identify and capture continuous improvement, opportunities, and using AI as a foundation to support that. So now I'd like to actually spend a few minutes and give some examples of real manufacturing and service companies that have adopted this approach and adopted an AI-centric connected worker platform and have seen results. In a common...
Chris, sorry, Chris, it's Mark. I forgot to mention to the audience, if anybody wants to ask any questions, please put them in the questions box, and Chris and I will try and answer them afterwards. So my apologies, I should have mentioned that at the start, and sorry to stop you mid-flow.
No worries. Yeah, please. If there are questions, just shoot them in the box, and we'll try to address as many as possible here on the here during the live session. And if we don't get to them all, obviously we can address those offline too. So we'll talk about some customer examples here, and a common theme that you'll see in these is rapidly adopting this new technology and implementing it across an organization. You'll see immediate results in addressing skills gap issues. You'll see the ability to capture tribal knowledge, and you'll see how it's impacted continuous improvement efforts. And so this is, again, a common theme that I think will be evident as we go through these. The first example is a company called Biochem Fluidics, and they're a great example of a mid-sized manufacturing company. They design and manufacture high-performance pumps and valves that go into medical instrumentation, and so these products are used in clinical diagnostics, analytical chemistry, water quality. And when we started with Biochem in their pump and valve assembly process, which is a highly complex process, these pumps and valves are quite small, but very, manual intensive when it comes to the assembly process for these particular instruments. And actually, with Biochem, 20% of their workforce is either temporary or contract labor. So rapid training and onboarding is important to them, and the skills gap issue is clearly evident within their company. As with many companies that we've worked with, they started with what they had was paper-based work instructions. They were committed to continuous improvement and lean methodologies, and so they were able to implement Augmentir, quick results, 3 days to get their first procedure, quote unquote, digitized and augmented, 2 days to integrate with their ERP system for work order management, synchronization. They have over, I think, 200 procedures now that they're running, through this connected worker platform. They've seen an 18% improvement in productivity. They've seen an 80% reduction in new employee training time. And so the training effort for their new employees, new technicians, new assemblers was used to be 2 months, and it would require a senior technician or a senior engineer shadowing them for those 2 months periodically. They were able to reduce that to 2 weeks and maintain or actually exceed productivity coming out of that training effort. So significant improvement in training time there, and being able to do that on a continual basis. They've also had several areas of where their continuous improvement team has identified of kind of continuous improvement. So both in the content, benchmarking, how do they utilize their assemblers, even differences in direct labor accounting versus what they were using for scheduling and costing. So being able to address some of those discrepancies so they have better and more accurate forecasting of both costing as well as accurate accounting of rework time and scrap rates. And so, this is just a couple quotes from Biochem, but Biochem is really able to look at this as a tool in their lean toolbox, and as a way to not only improve the productivity and performance of their teams, address skills gap and training, capture some of that tribal knowledge, but then do that on a continual basis. And the next example is a company called StrongArm. So StrongArm is a small manufacturing company that makes industrial workstations. You see here on the left, used in hospitals or fast food or industrial settings, factories. Think of a computer workstation mounted to an arm that's ruggedized and industrial. Quality is critical to their assembly processes, so quality and audit checks are absolutely critical. These go into a lot of medical facilities. And so they're, again, small manufacturing company. They had certainly challenges. They started off with paper-based work instructions, or in many cases, no documentation on their assembly procedures at all. It was just stuck in the heads of their senior assemblers. So they clearly had an aging workforce issue, and they had issues with novice assemblers coming on board and being able to get them proficient as fast as possible and to perform at quality. And so being a small company, they didn't have a large IT staff. They were able to implement some business results within 10 days, see a 20% reduction in build time for their most complex workstations, and actually a 37% reduction in cycle time on average. And I'll get to an example of that in a second here, of that and capturing tribal knowledge, and also streamlining a lot of their QA processes. So this is a quote from StrongArm, but after using Augmentir and implementing this system and having digitized some of their assembly procedures, they lost a senior technician due to retiring. It was something that was planned, but they were able to replace that individual with a more junior person without missing shipments, and actually were able to see an increase in productivity without sacrificing quality. And so this is a screenshot of some of the analytics that came out of our AI engine. And again, I tried to blur out some of the details here. But what this shows is the novice worker and the dates in the number of hours it took for that person to assemble a particular unit over time. And this is over the course of a couple months. And what our AI was able to determine is the point at which that worker became proficient, and then deliver them a more optimized set of work instructions. Again, they're heavily audited. Their customers audit their work procedures and instructions. So they go through a series of QA sign-offs and verification before they can continue. So our AI was able to deliver them a more optimized set of work instructions that resulted in a 37% reduction in cycle time. And then, as you see in the graph, maintain that over time. So really a great example of using AI to deliver more personalized work instructions so that a learner can become more proficient, and do that in a way that works for that individual worker. And the last example here is actually, it's a company there's going to be a news coming out next week on this, so I can't share the name right now, but they're a dealer and a reseller and a service organization for construction equipment. And the use case was around the inspection and repair and rebuild process for the engines, specifically turbochargers. So they're a very large company. They have these remanufacturing facilities that include, you know, equipment coming in needs to be inspected, repaired, scrapped, or rebuilt, remanufactured, and then sent back out. They also were heavily into paper-based work instructions. So the process included converting their paper-based work instructions to augmented instructions, a combination of augmenting them with additional guidance, rich media, AR experiences that helped, you know, workers work through the process more efficiently, whether it was inbound inspection or rebuild and remanufacturing. They were up and running within 3 days. The benefits, there was an easier process for the technicians. The system allowed the technicians to actually give feedback. So when you think about a connected worker platform, and connected truly meaning the technician being connected into the overall workflow, the process allowed them to get feedback from the technicians in the field and then use that to continually improve on the digital work procedures that they were creating. They're able to do accurate time tracking now, so they can do better estimates on the process it takes to rebuild and you know, inspect and rebuild these machines, the equipment coming in, and then integration into the business systems, including Salesforce and their dealer business systems, which is critical for them to maintain sort of a synchronization of business activity. And just another, you know, example, you know, this is showing some data. I've anonymized a bit of it here, but it's just showing, you know, the ability to determine outliers in the process, so that you can the system can become more intelligent about not only capturing the data but cleaning it, and then using it to actually identify and to recommend true areas of opportunity for improvement. This is just another example of one of their work procedures, and you know, being an author. If you were sitting here in front of the work procedure and you were building it up, being the author and being able to incorporate feedback from the field, hey, this is a better picture of this particular situation, or if you could add a picture here, it would help us identify what, you know, when we're doing inbound inspections, what is going to fail inspection versus what's going to pass inspection. So simple things, but things that have significantly helped them, you know, in their overall process. So to sort of wrap things up here, we certainly don't think manufacturing or the industrial sector will ever be the same again as technology providers. It's been good to see that companies, certainly in this enterprise AR space, if I can generically call it that, have stepped up and provided a lot of you know, free software. As I mentioned, our, you know, remote assist software. There's several companies now that have stepped up to offer that. So as technology companies, you know, we need to be at the forefront of that to help manufacturing and service customers reinvest in their frontline workforce. We truly believe that AI, combined with connected worker technology, can be used to enable independent work, support instant skilling of the workforce, and provide virtual support, which is critical for safety and business continuity today. And that wraps it up. Thank you. My email address is there. Our website is there. Again, Augmentir is an AI-powered connected worker platform. If you're looking for more information, feel free to reach out to me. Certainly open to addressing any questions here. You can go to our website. We have a free trial process. You can get started right away and get started with Augmentir pretty seamlessly. So happy to, Mark, turn it over to you, but happy to open it up for questions now.
That's great, Chris. Thank you very much for that excellent and insightful presentation. Again, to remind people listening, please feel free to ask any questions in the questions box. We've got a few there. I've just got a couple of real quick ones for me, having listened to the presentation. The first thing, Chris, is about the delivery of the be it the work instructions and things like that in terms of devices. I'm assuming across any device. Can you perhaps put a bit of insight of what devices you support?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll answer that in two ways. I think in general, the industry and software providers like us tend to offer support for both, I'll call it wearable and mobile technology. So head-mounted devices, as well as, you know, phones and tablets. At Augmentir, we truly embrace that. So we support any Android or iOS phone or tablet device, as well as RealWear. RealWear has a fantastic wearable head-mounted device computer, the HMT1. So we support that as well, and we support other wearable devices as well. But we've seen quite a bit of customer traction with a RealWear device. So we're actually relatively deep in our support of that device. But we like to look at it as, in Mark, you and I were chatting about this earlier. A lot of these companies start with paper-based work instructions, and so to leap to a wearable device, while it does provide quite a bit of value in terms of safety and hands-free operation, it's a significant leap. You think about human factors and change management. It's a significant leap there, and so oftentimes even companies starting with a simple tablet-based solution is a way to ease into the process and start to see value before they advance that to wearable technology.
But and the follow-on question from that, from one of the audience is, the first question is, do frontline workers welcome this type of digital transformation, or do you feel there's some resistance in the beginning?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have not really seen resistance. We have seen that there's a bit of change management that has to happen, certainly. Even as simple as how to use mobile technology. I mean, if you think about how to use, whether it's a computer or a tablet, but even things as simple as that. So we've certainly seen that the companies that implement these most successfully are the companies that have some level of change management and training procedures in place for people to use devices that might be on the floor, or when you look at field service, they're more accustomed to using a phone or a tablet because that's kind of part of their operation today. So that's a little less intrusive. But you look at factory workers, I mean, sometimes it is a little more of a leap to introduce any sort of device into the factory floor. But what we're seeing, though, is individuals are embracing it because they see it as a way to make them more productive. They see it as a way to allow them to to perform their jobs better and give them the support that they need. So we haven't seen any pushback. We've just seen that certain companies would have to make sure that they're implementing change management properly.
Yeah, and it's a great point, and we talk a lot, through the input or through the feedback from the area, about working with the workers at the early stage. But if you're solving a real problem for them, then they absolutely, take to it really quickly. So exactly. It is about making sure you're solving those problems.
And actually, just to touch on that, Mark, quickly, that's one of the things that we heard, when you look at, and I'll just kind of use the extreme example of mixed reality, a 3D, mixed reality experience where you have a CAD disassembly that's exploding in your face, and you can sort of drill into the device and all this fancy stuff. When we looked at it, oftentimes a lot of the workers, the frontline workers, and the management, the operations managers, they were looking at how can we help our workers perform their jobs more safely, on quality, and in higher productivity without disrupting them. And so sometimes that's a simple, I just need a helper image or a helper video. Sometimes it is, I need a more involved AR, MR experience, but it really varies based on the situation, based on the job. So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution, and there are, very minimal solutions that can be put in place that can really help prevent that disruption and really help incrementally add value to the worker.
Agreed. Okay, another question. I think unfortunately the person who's asked it is left, but I think it's very relevant to some of the work that the area is doing, and I'm not quite sure if and how you answer this, Chris, but will a platform and file type for 3D assets be standardized in order to be used comfortably for AR companies? So really that's about taking the 3D assets within a company and making that available. Is that something you've come across or you're doing some work on?
So we try to take an independent approach to that. There are, and Mark, feel free to chime in, because I know you guys are doing some things in this area. There are some standards out there, and there will be some convergence there. we tend to take a more independent approach to that, and we have an extensible architecture to our platform. So we look at our work instructions as comprising a series of steps and cards, and any of those can be, you can plug them in with something that is custom built and interfaces with any sort of system, that exists in place today. So we sort of look at that a little more independently, or agnostically,
no, that's great.
I should say.
Yeah, no, and one of the reasons why I've asked the question is it's something that the area members have added to one of the research projects, and actually was voted by the area members, and it's become the 7th research project. So we're actually working now on taking kind of the nasty 3D assets, and what I mean by nasty is it's not just a kind of clean, simple thing that comes out of maybe a CAD or a diagram. People have added to it and worked on it, and what we want to do is be able to test a number of different tools, see how well that they can actually take the asset down so it's available within an AR environment. So we're talking probably the augmented reality devices, see how the processes work, if there's any standards developing out of that, and then really just pass it back as a kind of a process to allow area members, and potentially after a period of time the wider ecosystem, just to understand some best practice in that kind of space. But yeah, no, thank you for your thoughts on that, and that's something that the area members will get in the coming months. I just want to finish off with one last question for you, Chris. There was a mention of a free AR interface through 2020. Do you have more information on that?
Yeah,
I know you've been doing some great reach out on that.
Yeah, so we actually, interestingly, in mid-March, we started to get a lot of inquiries coming in, just, organic inquiries coming in on, hey, we need a remote support solution like ASAP. And so we started to think about it a little bit more, and obviously as the pandemic became more severe and more widespread, we just felt it was the right thing to do. So we have a remote assist portion of our platform that's a virtual and industrial collaboration tool. It includes chat and live video, audio streaming, annotations, allows workers to, connect virtually with people and provide collaboration to either, internal employees or actually customers. So we announced an offer to provide that for free through 2020 to industrial companies that could benefit from it. We've had several dozen companies sign up and take advantage of that offer, so we're excited to help them there, and be part of the solution. So that's, again, you can sign up on our website for that, and it's been nice to see that there's been other technology companies that have, I think, followed suit from there and have offered similar approaches to that. What we're trying to do is remove the barriers, make it as unlimited as possible, as realistically possible. But we think offering it through the end of 2020 is something that gives them enough runway to both support during their current times, as well as maintain business continuity, and then support operations when things do start to open back up again, which hopefully will be soon.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Chris. And again, to remind the audience that you can sign up on the website. We've actually recently done a blog article about all the different area members and what they're doing to help with the COVID-19 kind of challenges that we're in, which is available, and obviously Augmentir is on that as well. So, thank you for doing that. Just thank you for an excellent presentation. Thanks everybody for listening in. The recording will be up on the area website in the next day or so, and I'll send a link to everybody as well. Chris, thank you. Everybody stay safe, look after each other, and keep pushing the augmented reality ecosystem. It's great the work we've done. Thanks, Chris.
Yep, thanks everyone. Thanks, Mark.